Welcome back to another episode of Luxury Fridays. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. If you're watching live on YouTube, you're watching on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're watching, welcome on this beautiful Friday. Just a few reminders that we are streaming also live on Instagram, but on Instagram, you can't see my guest. You can't ask those interactive questions, or I can't bring you on video. So if you're watching on Instagram, Luxury Fridays, go to luxuryfridays.com, click on the top link, or better yet, go to our YouTube channel, type in Marketing Luxury Group, and hit that subscribe button, and you'll see our live streams as we have them week in, week out. This live stream is going to be like other live streams. We're going to try to bring value not just to top real estate agents, broker owners, team leaders, whether you're with an independent or you're a large franchise, but also consumers. We've had consumers reach out to us and watch on our Facebook page or our YouTube and say that they're getting value from these as well. So all things real estate related, although we focus on luxury, most of the things we talk about apply to many of the price points, right? You have entry level, you have average price points, you have high-end homes, which we define as 2 times the average sale price. You have luxury homes, which we define as 3 times the average sale price. And then you have ultra luxury, which we define as 10 times the average sale price. Again, just had somebody reach out to me from Florida, Jeffrey. Jeffrey down in Florida, down in Sunrise area, Aventura area. Jeffrey, someone took his book from his office and he was freaking out. He says, "Where can I get another copy?" You can always get a copy of our book on Amazon, Luxury Listing Specialist. And if you're getting value from this book or today's podcast, or live stream, I should say, leave us a like, leave us a review. And if you have a guest, you have a topic you'd like us to cover, you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, the best way to do that is shoot me an email, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. Michael@marketingluxurygroup.com is the best way to get a hold of me, the best way to reach out to us. And don't forget, last but not least, our next in-person live luxury designation training is 5 days away. Uh, Literally 5 days away. We have a few tickets left. It's over the last week, I should say, we've had a lot of sales. We're really excited with the level of interest. And we're looking at maybe announcing an upcoming training down in Houston. We're looking at November. We're finalizing details there. So we'll keep you posted. Again, I'm your host, Michael LaFido. You're in the right place. If you're looking to differentiate yourself, you're looking for more insight on a topic that perhaps isn't talked about, you're looking to hear from different perspectives. We have various guests on, whether they be luxury agents, broker owners, strategic partners. Today, I have a guest on, which I'll introduce in a minute. But before I bring him on, he is going to be talking about insurance, all things uh, homeowners insurance, do's and don'ts. And we're going to be talking about 6 important questions real estate agents should be asking their clients. We're going to be talking about that with Manny here in a minute. But before I bring Manny on, just a reminder, if you guys have a comment, thank you, by the way. We got a regular Mark Benson who's been very supportive over the years. Mark, thanks for joining today down in beautiful Naples, Florida, Mark. And we have questions. You guys can literally, I can literally bring you on camera, and you don't have to download anything. I'm going to type that into the comments section right now. That's how you would, this link here that it's in the comments section, that's literally copy and paste it or click on it. That's how you would come on camera to ask a question. Or, of course, you can always type in your questions in the comments section. Just type them in the comment sections, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Or Instagram. It's a little bit more difficult. My folks watching on Instagram, I recommend you go to our YouTube channel. This way you can see my guest I'm about to bring on. You can type in your comments on Instagram. I just might not get to them at all, or there's definitely going to be a delay just because my focus is on my monitor. I am wearing one of our most popular shirts. Let me hide this. One of our most popular shirts is location, 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 right? Location, location, location. That is one of our most popular shirts. And you can find that at our URL that's going across right there, Luxury Specialist Gear. You can buy our t-shirts, our hoodies, our luxury shirts, our objection handling playing cards. We don't sell our books there, but you can find all our swag at luxuryspecialistgear.com, luxury specialist gear. And one of our most popular is our location shirt. All right. Sorry about that. Literally, I ran home because my neighbor thought someone was in her house. And I said, "Do you want me to come home? I'll swing over there." And you could tell she was freaking out. So I just had to run home real quick, not my house, and check on my neighbor and make sure she was okay and everything was all good. But I am thirsty because fight or flight, I had the adrenaline going myself. Uh, Again, what you focus on expands. What you focus on expands. I had the great privilege this week of going to my alma mater high school and taught 3 classes on a Monday morning, the 7:20 class, the 8:10 class, and the 9 a.m. class. And it was a class of boys and girls that wanted to be entrepreneurs. They didn't know what they wanted. And I took this class, um, and and so they had me talk about unique value proposition, UVPs, because these students are going to put together some kind of pitch on a product, whether it be something they create or how they can improve a product. And it got me thinking about today's Luxury Fridays. Isn't that why you're watching this? If you're watching the live stream or you're watching a replay, isn't this why you're watching to differentiate, to bring more value to your clients and to your database? Well, one of the ways that you can bring more value to your clients and your database is familiarize yourself with the various things that homeowner or that seller is they're gonna need to hire or contract, and one of those is homeowners insurance. So today's guest I'm going to bring on here, I have Manny is going to be. I'm going to bring him on camera right now. Manny, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Everything's good. I can hear you and see you.
All right, very good. So I have Manny here, and he works with a basically a insurance broker called Associated, and whether it be real estate and other types of insurance, their company provides it. But you know, just like a stockbroker, just like a trade broker, he can connect you, whether it be with Chubb, whether it be with the various insurance companies out there. And you can explain a little bit more on how you operate, maybe versus a State Farm or an Allstate. Explain, let's start with the basics, the difference between, if you worked at State Farm and you can offer State Farm's products versus if you worked and you were a brokerage model and you could figure out which package, which insurance coverage is best. Let's start with some basics for people so they can understand the difference between a State Farm or Allstate homeowners insurance agent versus a broker like yourself.
Sure, sure. Thanks for having me on. First of all, Mike, again, as Mike stated, I'm with Associated Private Client, which is a division of Associated Insurance and Risk Management Advisors. We're based out of Rolling Meadows, but we can insure in all 50 states. So we're a personal lines insurance broker. We have a whole commercial side of the house. But today I'm here to talk about, like Mike alluded to, homeowners insurance when it comes to the luxury market. Mike, you and I talked and we had lunch and reached out to a now mutual connection. And I said, I need to talk to a realtor who really provides additional value and differentiates himself aside from just getting a signature on a contract for a sale, right? And he's like, well, you need to talk to my guy, Mike LaFido. So thanks again for having me on.
Well, you're welcome.
Um,
I appreciate what you've done in our short time. We'll talk a little bit how you can leverage some things as well. That's kind of the topic for today. But before we go into that, I just want you to cover some of the basics. For
yep.
we have newer agents on here, we have consumers on here that maybe that's all they've known. Their parents went through their State Farm guys, so they're going through State Farm. So what can you do to enlighten our audience as to why perhaps someone like yourself, a insurance brokerage, can pair them up with better offerings and maybe better coverage and better pricing?
Sure. Because my focus is personalized insurance in the affluent market space. When it comes to the higher price or the luxury real estate listings, we'll say $1 million or higher, the carriers that we use can offer broader coverage. And we won't get into the details of, policy language here today. We could be here for 5 hours if we did that. But just want to touch on a few things that realtors can say or make comments to with their clients, whether it's a buyer or a seller. And then say, hey, if you need a guy, and I'm going to steal this from you, Mike, I already told you this, if you need someone to have a fresh set of eyes to review your current insurance policy or the quote you're getting for the policy for this new purchase, that you know somebody that you can talk to and knows policy language. And the first thing that comes to mind is the dwelling amount listed on an insurance policy and if it's accurate or not. And you and I have done a little work behind the scenes, and I have a real life example, and we'll talk about the dwelling amount for this particular example. If you're a realtor and you're selling a a 6,000 square foot house in Wilmette, and you see that it's insured for 1.2 million, you have to ask yourself, if this house burned to the ground, or if there's a significant loss, and the most an insurance company is going to pay is 1.2 million, are you doing a service to your client by not saying anything? No, they should have that looked at. And what I mean by that is this. There are carriers out there, I don't need to mention names, there are carriers out there that have limits. I mean, there's a market for that. It's middle market. They have limits on their dwelling amount. It could be capped at 1.2. It could be 120% of that. There are limits. So if that home in Wilmette burns to the ground, is 1.2 million enough to rebuild it? And chances are no. It's probably a most definite no.
Too low.
And right. And then you have a client that has expenses being paid out of pocket. So now they're going to be mad at somebody.
All right,
but
so,
if you could,
let's just pause for a second. I like to
sure.
to jump in at a couple important points when we have guests on. So what Manny is, those of you that are just tuning in, thank you. This is Luxury Fridays. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. If you're watching a replay of this as well, we have Manny Arroyo on with Associated Private Client. He is an insurance broker. We're talking about homeowners insurance. And so right now, if you own a house, a condo, a townhouse, but let's talk house for now, your property is insured. We call that homeowners insurance. And he's referencing a house in the North Shore of Chicago, but we have guests and viewers internationally. Doesn't matter. Could be California, New York, wherever that house is. It is insured for the value that the insurer believes it's worth in case it gets burned down and they have to insure it to get it replaced and build a similar quality style home. But the problem is what Manny is saying is many times they are underinsured. And so some people like being underinsured on the surface because they think their payment's less. However, when there's an issue that occurs, even if it's water, sewage backup, if something in their basement, whatever it might be, if they don't have the right insurance, they're going to be out of pocket. And although they might have saved a couple $100 a year, those thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars they weren't expecting, ultimately could be a stressor and be a headache. And so what Manny was about to say and started saying is what the home is not worth, but we're talking about replacement cost right now. So again, that's different than what it's worth. Maybe that house only sells for, 800,000 because the market's down, but to replace it would be 1.2 million. Or maybe the market's really hot and someone would pay 2 million, but to replace it, it would only be 1.5 million. So we're talking replacement costs now, correct, Manny?
That's exactly right. I couldn't have said it better.
Good. So you started saying many people, when they look at homeowners insurance, how do they determine if they're underinsured or overinsured? What's a simple step they can do? Make a phone call and ask, what's my replacement value on my property right now?
Right. The best thing to do is to contact your agent, your broker, and you should be having conversations with him or her annually to review your coverage, whether it's your home, auto. Today we're talking about home insurance. And companies can run an estimated replacement cost. When we bring on a new client, we run an estimated replacement cost, and Our carriers have their algorithms built in, and they're able to determine the replacement cost. But then our carriers that we use, whether it's Cincinnati, Chubb, Berkeley One, AIG, they'll send someone out to do a thorough, complete inspection of the home. And if the value is actually lower than what was originally quoted, then we'll reduce the premium, reduce the amount if the client wishes to do that, or we'll have to increase it. But we try to price it right, which is key. Pricing it right versus pricing it too low just to get premium, and then having to come back to the client and say, oh, wait a minute, it's actually, your replacement cost is much higher. We're going to have to charge much more premium, et cetera. So the key is to have the conversation early, price it right, and just consult and advise with the client and say, okay, this is what you're currently insured with right now, 1.2 million. Our estimated replacement cost is coming in at 2.3 million, which means we feel that it would be 2.3 to replace or rebuild if burned to the ground. If you stay with your current carrier, you could be paying $1 million out of pocket if you don't insure it properly. And then I'll tell clients or prospects, I'll say, well, go back to your agent, your local agent, and find out if that's right. Find out if they need to increase it, because from my point of view, this is what we feel. And another big difference you talked about.
So do you give second opinions a lot? In other words,
yeah.
your friends, family, they say, Manny, let me just run this by you. And I'm sure you offer up, just like in our industry, many times we'll give second opinions or a market analysis with the idea that you hopefully are going to bring value to them, so that if they do have to sell, or maybe they are trying to sell and they're not happy, your top of mind awareness, they see your professionalism, they realize you know what you're doing. So that's why you do that.
That's exactly right. And I'll tell prospects, I'm just here to consult and advise. If you feel that you want to stay with your current carrier, that's fine. But I'm just saying, go back to your agent and request a review and put the correct coverage in place. And just backing up a little bit here, the carriers that we use with the luxury properties, they have what's called unlimited or guaranteed replacement cost. So even if we insure a luxury property for 2 million, 2.5 million, if it costs 3 million to rebuild, if it costs 4 million to rebuild, our carriers are going to pay this guaranteed replacement cost. Where other carriers, middle market, et cetera, they have limits or caps where you could be out of money, out of pocket.
Wow, that's huge right there. Guaranteed replacement cost, because lumber and materials and supply chain issues affect where things are at. And so guaranteed replacement cost will give the homeowner the peace of mind that he doesn't have to worry about market value going up or down on lumber or replacement, because with that guaranteed replacement cost, he's covered, correct?
Correct.
Or they're covered. He or she's covered. Awesome. Really good information there. Harry Cherry. Harry's got a question, not for you on this one, Manny, but for me. And Harry, excuse me. I'm going to come back to this question. Great question. And those of you that are just tuning in, stick around. I'll answer that question for you. And it was, what would you say when you were new to luxury and a seller asked how many houses I've sold above $3 million? That's a great question. We'll get to that in a little bit. Just like Harry's question, if you have a question, go ahead and type that in the comment section. No matter what platform you're on, it'll come up on on our back office, and I'll be able to pull it up or ask it. So great question, Harry. Thank you for that. And just as I mentioned earlier, we're wearing one of our popular shirts, our location. On the bottom, you see our luxury swag on the ticker there. Go to Luxury Specialist Gear. And we are going to be in Milwaukee next week. We're really excited. We're going to be live in Milwaukee. For more information there, you can literally go to luxurydesignation.com. If you go to Luxury Designation, you will see all the details, all the bonus items that we are including in that training. You just go to luxurydesignation.com. All right, so Harry, that was really good information. I want to step back here, Harry, and talk a little bit about how these replacement value estimates can be beneficial to an agent. So I want to share with you a real scenario. Those of you that are watching, I want to share with you a real scenario on a property that I've had on the market for some time, and we've had it under contract a few times as well. It's currently listed at $9.5 million. It's currently listed at $9.5 million. It's a gorgeous home, and uh, let me do this here. I'm going to pull this over here, and I'm going to do a screen share so you guys can see this here. All right, so I'm going to share with you this house, and so you, the audience, can see this amazing home myself. Let me get this. Let me get this. All right, so let me get this off here. So I know it's tough to see. I'm going to blow up but we're talking about this house right here on the screen. This amazing property that we represent. It's in a town called Barrington Hills, Illinois. This was Architectural Digest, most beautiful home for sale. This was the backdrop for the TV show Empire. Maybe you guys saw it on Fox. This was the backdrop for the TV show Empire. It's absolutely gorgeous. You notice how I led with what I would say the money shot, showing the estate, the privacy, how it's on two lakes. This has been on the market for some time. So how do I create urgency? How do I create urgency when something's been on the market for some time? Now, I know that you can't read the comment section. It's too hard for you. It's too small, I should say. So I'm going to type this in to the comment section. This is the opening sentence that I have in the MLS right now. Elegant estate priced below the two replacement cost evaluations of $15,907,688 and $12,397,000 that were produced. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe Manny can help me, but that were produced on September 6th, so 10 days ago. So a couple things, okay? I want you to get inside, peel the onion back as to why I put the date on there and why I have the exact dollar amount of the replacement cost that Manny had provided us, my guest today, for this particular property. Number one, if it was 16 million, your radar would go up and say, well, that doesn't seem accurate. So when you have a true number down to the dollar, that is more believable than if I just had 12,400,000 or 12 million, 12.4 million or 16 million. That's number one. That's number two. Okay. Number two, why did I put the date on there? Let's do some audience participation. Why do you think I put the date on there? Okay. Mark, if you want to come on, Mark Benson, you want to come on, or anybody else, click on this link here. Click on this link here, or copy and paste it. But I want you to share, I want to get your thoughts as to why do you think I shared the date that was provided to me or produced. And by the way, we don't make it available for people easily, but in the remarks section, okay, in the remarks section, I tell agents this. I'll read it to you right here. Basically it says, hey, if you are interested in getting the replacement cost report, please provide me, proof of funds that you're working with a client. I'm not just going to give it to anybody. If they have a $10 million buyer, absolutely I will. Anybody have thoughts as to why I put the date? Okay, why I put the date? Manny, why do you think I put the date? I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, I mean, it's just to establish what is current, right?
Current is true, right? How many times as real estate agents have you gone on an appointment and you're thinking the home is worth 600,000 and they're thinking 750 because it appraised for 750 in 2015 or whatever the date is, right? Way in the past, something that wasn't recent. So as well as I know that it's just a pinning the value, but anything over 60 days is really, in some markets, might be 30 days, might be 3 days in some markets, is considered dated. So the reason, I'm not getting anybody chime in here, so I'll share with you. The reason that I put that date in there, the reason I put that date in there is, I want people to realize that this is a current replacement cost. This is not just some pie in the sky, but I have a date. I have a specific price, and it creates credibility and legitimacy, which helps build trust. Okay, it helps build trust, and it also helps create urgency. I'm marketing it at 9.5, and holy cow, we are $3 million, and we are 6,400,000 below the replacement cost. That should give buyers the peace of mind that, man, this is a well-built home, and I couldn't replace this and try to build this for anything. Okay. Appraisal is a snapshot, a Snapchat of the past. Yeah, appraisal like Snapchat. My son the other day, coming home from football, he took a. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, it was a Snapchat. So you younger viewers, you know Snapchat, okay? Yes, an appraisal is a Snapchat of the past. That's a good. It's like a Snapchat and it's a snapshot. It's really both. So it's like a Snapchat and a snapshot and both. So, anyways, those that are watching on Instagram, again, you can join Manny. You can join me by going to our YouTube channel, type in Marketing Luxury Group, uh, and you'll see our live stream. Hit that subscribe button, or you can just go to luxuryfridays.com and click on that top link. Either way, you'll see Manny on the screen. You'll be able to type in your questions. You can type them in right now. Alicia, good to see you. You guys can all type in your comments right now, but it's a little bit easier if you join our live stream. So, all right. So, Manny, that was how I wanted to share with our guest how they can create urgency through a replacement value analysis. And if it comes in favorable below the asking price, how you can leverage that. And so I leveraged it on this property. Okay. I leveraged it on another one. I'll show you here. These are the properties that we represent. This is another property that we just did that on. Okay, this is a house in Naperville, Illinois, and it's a gorgeous home. I'm gonna copy and paste this one so you can see it. It's not rocket science, folks. It's not rocket science. So I'm going to share that screen so you guys can see this. And this is this gorgeous home in Naperville that I represent. It looks like a Tuscan property. And this property here is absolutely gorgeous, and literally, it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. So, with that being said, I want to share that stuff with you so you can see how you can leverage these evaluations. All right. Any questions? Any questions for Manny? Any questions for me before we get on to some of these other important questions real estate agents should discuss with their clients? Type it in if you have a question. All right. Does your current insurance carrier provide sufficient coverage for water backup? Talk to me about what do you mean by water backup, and talk to me about some horror stories, please, Manny.
Sure.
Some of
So
our
water
viewers,
backup.
some of our viewers might not have basements. You know, when I do these trainings all across the country, certain parts of the country they don't have basements. So talk about basements. Talk about not basement versions.
That's right. So whether you have a basement or not, it's a water backup through a drain and a sump pump if you have a basement. So backup from within the house. I know you didn't show any of the pictures of the two homes there that we both talked about, but those basements are massive. People at that level with luxury homes will have very nice things in the basement. A sump pump fails there, other carriers, they have limits on what is paid out. Sometimes it's 5% of the dwelling. Sometimes it's a flat dollar amount. Sometimes it's 10% of the dwelling amount. In the case that I brought up with the home in Wilmette, he had 5% coverage or 5% of the dwelling based on his old policy. It was $64,000 in coverage. I mean, mitigation alone for people to come in and clean that up is going to be 10, 12, 15,000 right off the bat. And you have to ask yourself, well, then is there enough left over for the insurance company to pay for my nice pool table, for my, pick a TV, your bar, and your furniture, the list goes on. The carriers that we use will provide backup of sewer and drain up to the dwelling amount. So this Wilmette home had a very, very nice basement. And not only does he no longer has the 65,000 in coverage with his old carrier, but he has up to 2.3 million with the carrier that I placed him with. So much broader coverage that we provide. And we just ask, and anybody out there listening, just go back, look at your own policy. If you have a basement, see what you have. Do you even have it?
So many times what I hear you saying is these coverages for the, for the basements or in some of these walkout lower levels, some of these mansions. I mean, I'm going to show you a couple pictures right now on my screen where this is an extreme, right? This is a multi-million-dollar property, but I know some people that have these man caves in their lower levels. Look at the bigger picture here. That's a lower level, beautiful bar. Okay, the next picture is a family room in that lower level. You got this playing card with game room area. Then you have a gorgeous theater that was a $250,000, $70,000 theater. I mean, you could be up to $1 million really quick. And you're telling me some people had $60,000 in coverage for really upper end homes for their whole lower level to be replaced because of water damage.
Right. There are limits. There are usually limits, whether it's 5%, 10%, but there are usually limits.
But working with a broker like yourself or working with somebody that deals with more upper price point properties, the questions they ask, hey, Mr. Homeowner, do you have a basement? Is it finished? Is it not finished? Tell me a little bit about them. And based on that, do your coverages automatically have backup the cost of the dwelling?
Yes, with the high net worth carriers that we use, yes, it's automatic. It's built into the premium.
And that's something. It's a great question. All right, so that's water backup. Water backup. So water backup isn't just sump pump. It could be sewer drain, could be toilets. I mean, it could be a lot of different things. Could be water. Is that talking about water seepage, flooding? Bad rain comes, water coming through the window wells. I had a buddy once who had these window wells that they were clogged. You have drains on the bottom of these window wells. They were clogged, and he'd be out there at midnight during a rain, vacuuming out these things, have an extra sump pump out there. And he finally got one of these companies that come in and they shot high pressure water with the camera through there, and it cleared all the pipes, so to speak, so he can sleep at night. So tell me a little bit about flood and water backup. Has your current insurance agent ever explained the difference between flood and water backup?
Right. No, that's a great question, and it's a great example that you brought up with the window wells. So, we'll have conversations with our client and they'll say, you know what, my basement flooded. And then I have to pause and say, well, describe maybe what you mean by flooded. And in the insurance world, when we talk about flood, we're talking about water that comes from the outside in, whether it's through a window well, whether you have your typical flood, a river overflows, a lake overflows, and water level gets too high and water comes from the outside in. I mean, that's the most dramatic. But, you mentioned the walkout basement and you mentioned the window wells. It had the example that you used had water filled from the inside those window wells and water came crashing in from the outside in. Typically, that is not going to be covered with a carrier because you do not have flood coverage, water from the outside in. And talk about having upset clients. The same example with the walkout basement. Everyone has that little drain, the walkout basement. A lot of these nicer homes, you have a beautiful walkout basement. You have that drain that sits outside. Let's say that clogs up, or there's a heavy snowfall with a fast melt off. Water comes from the outside in, back in that little area. You're not going to have coverage for that type of loss. So we talk and we quote flood policies if possible, unless they're in a flood zone where they have to go a different route. But we talk to every client about having flood coverage, and we let them tell us no, but we have a discussion with them. Here's the difference if this happens. And in our space, if you're buying a $4 million home, a $3 million home with $200,000 worth of stuff in your basement, and adding flood coverage with the carriers that we use, which covers contents in the basement for $400, $500 annually, they're saying, yes, give it to me, because the number one cause of loss, whether it's water inside your house, water coming from your roof, water coming from the outside in, are water losses. But it's important they know the difference between flood and a backup of sewer and drain. And has that discussion been had with their current agents? And typically, I hear the answer is no.
That's a good point. So there is a big difference between flood and water backup, and Manny just shared that with you. These are all important points. Again, you're watching Luxury Fridays. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. I'm based here in the Chicagoland market. Luxury Fridays is created for real estate agents, team leaders, broker owners, whether you're in luxury and just looking for the principal, a slight edge, just something different, you can bring more value to the table, or you're an aspiring luxury agent. But we also have consumers, people that I'm friends with, connected with, that are just that. They own a home, they're buying a home, and they're just looking for a different perspective. I had on a gentleman recently from Chicago Land Trust Title, which is talking about land trust. We're talking about land trust. And so I have a client right now that's buying a $5 million home. And I talked to him about closing on that home in a land trust for confidentiality purposes, for liability reasons. So again, the goal for this is you are going to hear some tips from Manny. Maybe you already heard some tips and you're saying to yourself, wow, that's something different. I'm more educated. If I'm more educated, I'm more of an advisor. I can give sound advice. So, true story, my senior year in high school, working out in baseball season, working out in the weight room because it was a rainy day. So we didn't have outdoor practice, and see a policeman come into the weight room and a girl points over and I'm like, I know I didn't do anything wrong, but what's going on? So the cop comes up and says, are you Michael LaFido? I said, yeah. He goes, your house was hit by lightning. There was a slight fire. Follow me home. Looking back at it, probably not the best, best advice. I mean, I flew home. I mean, in my mind, if I got pulled over, I had a built-in excuse, but I flew home worried, not sure what's going on. And we were put out it had to be 6 weeks. We lived in like a residence inn type place for 6 weeks. And where I'm going with Manny on this is a question agents should ask is, if a homeowner is displaced due to a fire, due to a flood, um, does their current insurance carrier provide adequate temporary housing, basically, coverage? So what does that look like? What questions should they ask for that? Length of time, like a rental car? How long are you giving me? Is it as long as it takes? Well, what questions should they ask?
Right. You simply ask, well, what is the limit if I'm displaced from my home? Nowadays, and whether it's the cars or homes, the time to rebuild or repair is taking a lot longer. And we've all seen, well, hopefully we haven't all seen, a house that is, caught on fire in your neighborhood or somewhere, and you see like it hasn't been repaired in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Things take time. There are carriers out there that provide caps or limits, just like everything else we've been talking about here, on that particular coverage or loss of use. But the carriers that we use, knowing that they're in a totally different market in a luxury space, that amount is unlimited. So if it takes 2 years, 3 years, if it takes $500,000 in expenses for you to live somewhere else while rebuilding your home, waiting for permits, delays on lumber, they can feel comfortable and confident that they're going to be covered with the policies and the carriers that we use.
So just simply ask, okay, what does it look like?
Yep.
How do people know what the industry norm is, right? So sometimes that's a question. It's like, okay, well, they tell me this is normal, but how do I know if it's normal?
Right. I mean, right. It's a good question. There are so many carriers with so many different limits. But that's just a discussion you have, based on your home. Do you want to live in a home of similar size, similar school district? Those are the types of things that you're probably going to want. It's kind of like when you rent a car. If you're driving SUV, on a Land Rover, Range Rover, and you're with a middle market carrier and they're only going to pay $25 a day with a $600 limit, you're going to be out of pocket real soon. And so now we're getting on the auto side. But anyway, there are limits, and simply you have to ask yourself, well, what are you going to feel comfortable living in if you're displaced? And our carriers provide, there isn't a limit for that. So.
Okay. All right. Good. My next question is, some of these big losses, you know, do they ever waive the deductible? Or hey, most companies they charge a deductible no matter what. I know one guy, his deductible is so high. I don't know why he did it, but his deductible is so high. So talk to me about deductibles. Are those negotiable? What's what 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 to ask, what not to ask? Are they ever waived if it's a big claim?
Sure. Great question. In today's market, any carrier that you would bring on here today or any broker or insurance agent, they're going to tell you there's a heightened sensitivity when it comes to insurance claims with homeowners. So if you have a luxury property and it's 2 million, 3 million, $10 million house, there's no reason why you should have $2,000 deductible, even a $5,000 deductible. Normally, if you have that type of money to be buying a home of that size, you can self-insure for that small dollar amount. So if I have a client, once I have a prospect, which turns a client, I always say to them, before you file a claim, please call me and I'll guide you through the process. So if you have a $5,000 deductible and you have a $7,000 claim, I'm going to say, okay, right, insurance is here to pay for claims like this, but we do have to take into consideration, especially nowadays, the heightened sensitivity of claims being filed. You have 1 or 2 on your record, you're having a hard time getting insurance, you may be dropped. So we'll normally recommend a higher deductible in this space, meaning they self-insure for $5,000 or $10,000, because we have what's in the policy or ability to endorse a policy with what's called a waiver of large loss, waiver deductible for a large loss. So if the loss is greater than $50,000, your kitchen catches on fire, your deductible is going to be waived anyway. If you have a picture of that kitchen that you were just showing here, if they have a fire in that kitchen, the loss is going to be large. It's going to be, $100,000, $150,000. So their deductible is going to be waived anyway. So why not self-insure for $10,000 and save a little bit on premium, or even for $25,000, save a little on premium. So we have that discussion all the time, because the old school way was, the lower the deductible, the better, the less I have to pay out of pocket. Well, pick a carrier, any carrier, and you have too many claims on your policy, and you're going to be canceled.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that. What's the norm on if you have a claim? What's the cycle to kind of you get a ticket, right? You get a ticket after X amount of times. They take it off your record if you don't get another ticket. What's kind of the cycle? I'm sure it's different for every carrier, but speak in general terms of, hey, storm comes through the area. In the Midwest, we get these storm chasers, right? Storm comes through the area. There's hail. Boom. People trying to say, I can get your roof replaced for free. Well, what's kind of the cycle you see where, hey, if they had a claim, how long do they have to go without another claim where the carrier says, you know what, they're not a risk to us.
Right. It is a very broad question. It depends on the carrier. Obviously, the more time, the better. Sometimes you'll see 3 years. Sometimes they'll say, okay, well, they had a wood shake roof and now it's replaced with a synthetic wood shake. So, okay, then we'll go ahead and not look past that, but underwriting could make an exception. So we work with our underwriters all the time, especially when bringing on new clients, to say, look, this loss was 3 years ago, or just inside of 3 years, or just inside of 5 years. They had it fully mitigated. They put these measures in place, whether it was a water shutoff system. And so we work with our carriers on that. But it varies on the carrier.
Okay. Good. And we started off where I was talking about replacement cost. Again, those of you just joining Luxury Fridays, I'm your host, Michael LaFido. I have an insurance broker on talking about homeowners insurance. And one of the things I talked about on today's show is how you can leverage the replacement cost if favorable. Now, when we first met, I addressed the elephant in the room, right? I'm a skeptical person by nature, Manny. And so I said to you, well, of course you're going to say the replacement cost is higher. Why should I put any credibility in that if I'm marketing a home and and I say that it's priced below the replacement cost from September 6th, you're going to say, of course, it's priced below that. And my question to you is, why wouldn't you say the replacement cost is higher? Because you would insure that person. So if something did happen, they'd be happy because they're covered. But you'd also make more money based on a replacement cost of 12 million versus a replacement cost on 9.5 million.
Right. Great question. And I'll answer it the same way I answered it when we first met for lunch. My job and the carriers that we use is to price it correctly, price it right. The last thing we want is an E&O claim for intentionally underinsuring a property just so we could save premium and win the business. I'm going to go back to the example that I started out talking. The client had his home insured for 1.2 million, 6,000 square feet plus home in Wilmette, and our insurance replacement cost came back at 2.3 million. Okay. With this old carrier, he was paying $3,374 annually. And so now I'm coming back to say, well, Mr. Prospect, Mr. Client, your premium is now going to be $5,000, $5,100. And right, it's more because you're paying for more coverage, et cetera, but we're pricing it right. And it's the discussion and it's the consulting and advising that this is why you're paying a little more premium. This is the broader coverage you're receiving for your 6,000 square foot home in Wilmette. And it's about risk management for the client so they don't have out-of-pocket expenses, and just having an honest conversation with them. I've been in the insurance business for over 27 years. So trust me, I know that there are people out there like, well, that's what insurance for. You're going to charge me more so you can make more. And we're all in business to make money. But from my point of view, we're pricing things right, having a discussion with the client so they feel comfortable and so they trust me as their advisor when it comes to personal lines insurance. And that person's now a client, and it's not linear. We doubled his coverage for his home, and we didn't double the premium. And sometimes we'll even have it come back where the premium's less with the carriers that we're using. And so it's just having a conversation and being open and honest, right? If you're paying for more coverage, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. So what you brought up, because I brought up over-insuring it, so you charge a customer more, and you started out by saying some people underinsured if they're rate shoppers and say, wow, the rate's great, but they're underinsured. So it can happen either way. But you're saying, listen, no, because if they get a second opinion, we want to be right. We want to be thorough. You can stand by your evaluations and walk through it with them and say, hey, here's why we are where we are. Mm-hmm. And you can justify it.
That's exactly right. It's the same thing. I mean, as a realtor, you're selling a home and kind of going back to providing value. You're trying to sell a home and you have those people out there, well, you're just trying to make a commission, right? But if you're a realtor trying to sell a multi-million-dollar home and you make a comment like, you know what, you really like this home, you're thinking about putting in an offer, and they have a walkout basement with a drain, all you have to say is, make sure you talk to your insurance agent about that walkout drain so you have proper coverage on this home should anything happen. And then 3 years down the line, hopefully there isn't a loss. Are they going to remember me as an agent putting the policy in place, or are they going to remember you as a realtor saying, hey, he told me to get insurance because of the walkout basement?
Right.
So it's all about providing value, whether you're an insurance agent or broker or a realtor like yourself.
Yep. So a couple things. If you are watching, and we have people watching this live and we have people watching the replay, if you'd like a copy of this flyer, 6 important questions realtors should discuss with their clients, I have it on the screen right now. Literally, I'm going to put on the screen here Manny's information. You can shoot Manny an email, and Manny's agreed to share this with you, whether you decide to reach out to him. Again, he's licensed in all 50 states. So even if you're watching this and you're not in Illinois, you can help them. Is that correct, Manny?
That's correct. In fact, I saw Naples. I just helped a client in Naples. So we do a lot of business there, especially with the affluent client here in Illinois. They almost always have something down in Florida. So we do a lot of business down there.
Yeah, they do. They do. So if you'd like a copy of this flyer with the questions that we covered today, the 6 important questions agents should be discussing with your clients, just go ahead and shoot Manny. I'll put his email on the screen here. Shoot Manny an email, and and that's just at associated.cc. So marroyo at associated.cc. Shoot Manny an email. Tell him, hey, I was on Mike's luxury training, and I'd like to get a flyer on the 6 important questions realtors should ask. So again, that right there is the 6 important questions realtors should ask, and you'll send Manny an email. His email again is his first letter of his first name, his last name at Associated CC. Any questions for Manny before I let him go? He was terrific today. Any questions? Well, Manny, I appreciate your time today. I know you and I are going to be talking on some other things, so really greatly appreciate it. Great content, great information. Mark from Naples says, thank you, Mike and Manny. Good contact to have, Mark. If you ever need a second opinion down in Naples, make sure you send Manny an email. But Manny, I appreciate it. You make yourself have a great Friday and make it a great weekend for you, okay?
Thanks, Mike. We'll be in touch.
All right, sounds good. All right, that is Manny Arroyo with Associated Private Client. Great guy, doing some great things, been helpful to me in our short time getting to know him. Again, if you have questions for me, type them in the chat. Anybody that is interested in our designation next week, even if you don't think you can make it up to Milwaukee, my recommendation is you go down, you still get the class. You're going to get all the bonus items. Literally, you can go to luxurydesignation.com, luxurydesignation.com. I'm losing my voice. Been talking, coaching football 7 days a week. I'm coaching kids football. My sons on 2 different teams, and I love it. It's going great, but it does take a toll on my voice from encouraging others. You know, I posted something the other day, and I'm going to try to pull that up here. I'm going to pull that up. I posted this the other day, and let me see here. I love this quote, and I believe in this quote, and hopefully you are the same type of person. But if you hang out with me for too long, I'll brainwash you in believing in yourself and knowing you can achieve anything. That is really why I'm here on these podcasts and these live streams. I don't get paid. My guests don't get paid. We're volunteering our time. I was supposed to do a training this morning from 9:30 to 10:30, and at 1:05 in the morning, they canceled, and I woke up early to prep for it. So literally, I am doing this to give back. I'm doing this to raise the bar. My philosophy, if I lead with a giving hand, naturally, some people might be interested in our book or our designation or go to Milwaukee, but that will take care of itself. So if you like what we're talking about, you want to hear more, go to luxurydesignation.com. Even if you can't attend our event next Wednesday, you'll get access to our Lux University. You'll get all the bonus items. We'll ship them in the mail to you, and you have access to our content and our training and our 16 modules for 1 full year. That is all I have for you today. My name is Michael LaFido. Guys, I appreciate what everybody's doing. Make it a great day. And remember, the news wants to divide you. They want to label you. They want to label me. Remember, love is love. It's not just loving people that vote the same way as you, but you got to respect and treat others with respect, even if you have a difference of opinion. We've lost that art somewhere. Maybe it's through social media and you can hide behind Twitter and there's no repercussions, but treat others with kindness, even if they vote differently than you. My name is Michael LaFido. I appreciate everybody. Keep raising the bar for whatever you do. And until next time, you're watching another episode of Luxury Fridays. If you got value from this, if you have any questions, please shoot me an email, Michael at Marketing Luxury Group, Michael at Marketing Luxury Group. And until next time, I appreciate everybody. Make it a great Friday, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.